Okay, here I am still working on putting pieces together and building this creature. Now what's interesting is the colors and the textures and the lighting of each component is going to be from its own photograph, and it's not going to match. And so once I get these together, the next stage is going to be doing direct adjustments, dodging and burning, doing things like playing with the levels and the color balance to help them all fit into a world together. But we can largely make that our own. So if I want this to all go kind of warm and reddish, more saturated, I can do that to all of the images that I find. So we have a lot of our own input and options. Also, as I'm organizing layers, I want to kind of put them in the order that makes the most sense. So show what I want to have overlapping. So for instance, if I want this shell overlapping, I might do a quick little cutout here. Like so, for those head muscles. Otherwise, I'm not going to worry too much about cleaning it up yet. Just getting it all in place. And then this shell, I was thinking that I would reverse it maybe, or kind of swoop it under. I'm not sure. Let's see what I can do with it. Maybe I'll just use it as an alternate. They're both beautiful shells. Remember, when you use the selection tool in CS6, it's the point of the triangle that is where you're making your selection from. It's a change from earlier versions. So I was kind of thinking I would double these up somehow. Maybe run this underneath. I'm not sure. So for now, I'll just leave it there as an alternate. Maybe I build the silhouette up with it. I do layers of shell on layers of shell. That could be nice. Yeah, I'll merge the two together maybe. Just get a double-decker shell. All right, now that has layered together all of the different references I've brought in on the first round. So now I'm going to use an eraser. It's 100% opacity. It's a medium hardness and fairly small and precise. Though I'm not going to try to get it perfect yet. I'm going to start editing down to the things I like the most, especially the outside edges that I think are the most effective. So I'll start around this turtle shell. Zoom in as much as you think you need to. But the more you zoom in, the longer it takes. So I try not to zoom in too much until I'm finishing at the very end. But I also don't want to cut away things I might actually want. The people that are paid the big bucks for their digital art skills, it's all because of the speed in which they work. Now for this eye, I'll zoom in so I can show you this, because this is where your eraser can be kind of interesting. If I make it a lower opacity and a little bit softer, I can start to transition between these colors and values and textures just with the eraser tool. So I do kind of the outer edge, I just soften it a little bit. 1 opacity, just take off that really sharp edge. Like so. And now with a lower opacity, I can just kind of step it in little by little. And what I like is how striking that red eye is on this very light scaled texture. And I might make my brush a little bigger and even less opaque. Just hit it more generally as it circles around the eye. So that's how you can merge textures together and colors to get something kind of unique for your creature, but just make sure the light logic makes sense. So it's going to be darker here on the bottom than it is on the top. Same thing with these shells. If I'm on the right layer, let's see. If I want to kind of merge these together, I can do that through the eraser. As long as I'm using it in a very conscious way. You can also blend feathers into fur this way. And I haven't even matched the colors, right? I'm just using the opacity tools, letting one show through the other a little bit. You decide where your edges need to be hard, you decide where they need to be soft. It's all your, up to you as the artist, and that's why this goes so far beyond just collaging. Because we're able to make so many unique decisions just by nature of it being digital. Now for this shell, I'm going to sharpen up my eraser a little bit, take its opacity back up. Finally get rid of this head. It's been in the way. I'll get there eventually. So we still want to focus on our sketch as the guide to what we're doing. And eventually we'll clean it all up so there's just pure white on the outside. I think I actually need another shell to kind of bridge that gap from the shell cradling the neck of my creature. So let's define that edge a little bit, and then that will be my next thing that I bring in. The bridge between. Now, depending on the textures you're using, if you've got fur, you have to be kind of really careful as you cut them out, because the fur is going to be a soft texture, and you might have better luck with the magic wand rather than individually erasing it out. But for this kind of scaly, bumpy texture, this eraser is working pretty well. And because it's a creative act, you should feel perfectly confident just deciding on where your edges should be and following through with that. I'm probably going to put a beak on there. I have some reference for that. So we're always adding, always changing our silhouette. We're never just taking what's given to us. And that way, of course, we don't have to worry about being sued either. So, good side effects. So now I need to fill in this hump here with something. And I do want to use that forearm. Based on the reference, let's see, maybe I can push it around a little bit. Let's move it on top of my sketch. What aspects of it do I want? Let's see. Maybe all of this. And I'm going to select it, and I'm going to duplicate it, put the rest in the background, and I can work with that later, fit that in. Okay, always save your work as you go. Remember, this is saved as a PSD, so it keeps all your layers. Let's bring in another shell. I think maybe this one would be appropriate. Oh, I've got a pretty nice one there too. Let's see. Let's try this. It looks very rock texture like. And it's huge. My goodness. Let's see. I'm going to think how best to use this. I'm going to place it, I'm going to put it on top of the sketch, loosely cut it out. This grass texture doesn't make it that easy to do a quick selection. Duplicate it, erase the layer underneath, and then